Good morning, everyone. Good afternoon, Mo. I'm here. I'm Mark Allen with Gaper.io, and I'm here today with Mo Saeed, the CEO and founder of Salary X. Good afternoon in your case, Mo. How you doing?
Good afternoon, Mark. I'm doing well. I'm in Boston, so thank you very much for your introduction. Yes, I'm the founder of Salary X, and it's a startup, as you can imagine. So there are a lot of challenges.
So what we're going to be talking about today is basically insights into the gig economy with Mo. So we'll start with, first of all, how old is Salary X? I noticed you became the CEO and founder recently.
Well, Salary X, I transitioned actually from my previous startup last year, so it's been less than a year or so. I'm I'm working on Salary X project, but in gig economy. I've been involved in gig economy solutions for almost 5 years or so.
Oh, okay, cool. And can you just
Yeah.
do a brief explanation of what Salary X is all about?
Well, Salary X is so we what we are trying to do is to solve some of the problems in gig economy, and namely, what we recognize that there are challenges in terms of the gig workers having difficulty actually in terms of finding jobs, getting paid on times, and running financial services, or getting some access to financial services. And to talk about it, why we think this is important is that you have to really think about what is happening in the economy itself, right? The gig economy. This is how we describe it. So there's a fundamental shift that is taking place in gig economy, which means that in the next 5 years, this is government data, that majority of American workforce will become a gig workers, 1099 contractors. What does that mean? That means when you are a gig workers, you do not have any you do not have regular paychecks. You do not have any benefits. You are really independent contractors, meaning you are running a mini businesses, right? That's it. You have to track your expenses, you have to track your income, you have to file your taxes. All of those things which was done traditionally by regular job is really now, it's up to you how to do it. And then on top of it, you will have multiple gigs, right? This is how you will be operating in the future, which is already here. And then on top of it, you already, not only it's what we call is a shift in the workforce that is taking places, but it is being accelerated with the AI that has been, and we see a dramatic shift and changes actually, that people moving faster from traditional jobs into gig economy workplace. So what we are trying to do is to build tools and solutions that would help people or gig economy workers to be able to find jobs faster, work faster, and get paid faster, and then manage their finances. So it's a big ask, but so what we want to do is to really be part of the solution rather than just be like, okay, this is something is happening. And I think one more point I really want to point out is that it's what I call inflection points, right? It's really, when you think about startups, right? You don't really start in a vacuum. I have been in this space for over 5 years, and with my previous company, a startup called Orbispay, we were developing solutions and providing solutions for gig workers and people who are living paycheck to paycheck. So we have some understanding of exactly, what are the challenges and issue was. And we saw that is really a dramatic shift. It's not necessarily just offering what we call is earned wage access or giving them access to their paychecks, but it's really there are other challenges that also need to be addressed. And that was the reason actually I left Orbispay and started this. Instead of being what I call it's a product company, we wanted to really develop a solution as a platform which can help actually workers and also businesses to be able to hire them faster and also be able to pay them faster. So that is really what Salary X is all about.
Oh, very cool and interesting, and near and dear to my heart. My son's a gig worker, so and my daughter works for Google. A little bit opposite.
So let me just this is an important point. People think of gig worker. Most of us think of gig worker as an Uber driver of the world, right? That's what traditionally people think about it. But the reality is this: it's not just the Uber drivers or DoorDash drivers or Lyft drivers or any delivery. But really, when you think about fractional CMO, fractional CFO, fractional, all of us really are at this point. I'm a gig worker,
Mm-hmm.
right? Because
No, I agree. I mean,
I have 1099 contractors. I have to track everything else. So that is really the reality of it. I don't work for anybody. Nobody works for anybody, and majority of America will not be working for anybody,
yeah.
as how things are moving.
It's funny when you said gig worker, I think of you, what you just said, the fractional worker, and I'm the same, right? And I think of it more as a digital nomad than but you're right. I mean, Uber is what the rest of the world thinks of
Well,
it.
exactly. You can define it anyway. You can call them digital nomad. You can call them freelancer. You can call them gig worker. It's really end of the day. It's really the classification is defined by the IRS. It's called you whether you file 1099 form or not, right? That is really the definition of independent contractor.
Yes. But it's interesting. And then we're going off a little bit of a tangent here because I live in California, and California has laws that basically are against that. I don't know if you're aware of that.
I I am writing a book actually on gig economy right now as we speak, right?
Mhm.
So this book is going to be published soon. So I do keep track of Proposition 22, what really happened actually last week. I
Mhm.
think Supreme Court decided to not to classify them as a full-time employees or employees. They want to keep them as independent contractors.
Mhm.
So big companies, big platforms like Uber and Lyft have won. That
Mhm.
was their position, that they want to keep them as a gig worker, not as classified
Yeah.
as an employee, because it would have been very expensive for them to offer these services, I
Right.
suppose.
Yeah, and a lot of people that drive Uber and stuff like that really do it as a part-time, right, as a supplemental income. Some of them do it full-time, obviously, but a lot of them are supplemental.
You're right. I think that was the idea, and that
Yeah.
should be the idea. That should be
Oh,
the idea. It's like if you think about not only them, but also think about Airbnb, right? For example, I have extra room. Okay, I can rent it out. That makes sense, right?
yeah.
But then you get the professionals involved and the people start building homes and whatever. And then the interest rate shot up and all of a sudden they can pay the bills. So that was exactly what happens with a majority, a lot of Uber drivers of the world, that they transition into become full-time, right?
Yeah.
They ended up working more. So as long as you're right, absolutely. If this was a part-time thing, I think it's a fantastic way to earn some money,
Yeah, no.
right? Supplement your income. Absolutely.
Yeah.
But full-time, I think is very, very difficult actually to make a living.
Yeah, and especially in the Bay Area. But I do know people that work in San Francisco and live down here in the peninsula. And like, as long as I'm driving home, I might as well make a little bit of money.
Yes,
I'll just pick up a ride on the ride home. If you make $20, you do that 5 times a week, that's $100, that's not bad.
pays. Yeah, absolutely. And now all of a sudden you have $500, which can pay your the car payments.
Yeah, whatever. Yeah, you're right. So, so we'll go back to the topic now. So you've emphasized that a solid business model is more crucial than the technology or product itself. Can you share some examples from startups where this philosophy made all the difference?
You know, I think I have been thinking about it since you guys shared me this question, and I was thinking about why I believe that business model. I'm not a technologist. I think people get confused.
Mm-hmm.
A startup get confused, right? They get fall in love into the technology because a lot of them, because you are offering solution through technology.
Mm-hmm.
So you think that building a technology is really going to solve the problem. It should be the other way around. This
Mm-hmm.
is how I believe that. You really have to identify the problem, the gaps, and opportunities before you can really think about technology. But a lot of founders are tech founders. They have a technology background, so they think that by building all these nice widgets and nice all of those things can solve these problems. So I think that is really there's a fundamental difference, is to really first you have to figure it out. What are you, who you are?
Mm-hmm.
Are you building it for other developers, software developers? Are you building a tool for them?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, then it's a tech company. That's what it is. Or am I using technology as a leverage to offer solution at scale?
Mm-hmm.
Right? I'm in this category where I use technology to basically build businesses. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Technology is secondary to my business.
Yes.
So when you think about it, even some of the largest successful companies, and it's really as I just talking to you briefly, Airbnb.
Mhm.
Airbnb is a classic example. Uber is also. Airbnb is not a technology company. They saw there's a need and they figured people have extra room. There are a lot of travelers. Hey, they can actually build a little mini platform where they can match it, right?
Yeah.
So it was not technology driven. It was technology used to actually scale that business, to manage that business.
Oh.
So I think technology was secondary to them. I mean, when they started out, I remember just putting ads on Craigslist all over the place, right? That's
Mhm.
how they built their businesses. So they identified the specific needs, right, in that
Mhm.
space, and then use technology to solve it. But if there was just a technology platform without really understanding the business part of it,
Mhm.
they would not be able to really have any success. There are a lot of examples. Similarly, if you think about Uber, Uber does the same thing, right? It's
Yeah.
basically it's not a tech. I mean, Uber, if you think about Uber uses Google Map, Uber uses a payment system, Uber uses a messaging system, and there are like 10,000 other applications underneath, right? They
Mhm.
are leveraging and aggregating some of these things. And what they saw that, oh my God, there is a frustration out there.
Mhm.
I need to go to the airport today. Before Uber, I had to go find the cabs, whatever, it cost me $40 to go there. It's a painful process, particularly when you're flying late, like 2 in the morning or 3 in the
Mhm.
morning or whatever, 5 in the morning. Whereas Uber identify that and be able to solve this thing. And finally, I can give you a great example. I think if you think about Salesforce,
Mhm.
Salesforce, all they did is because what's his name? Mark, I think Mark, when he
Mark
started,
Benioff.
Benioff, right? He started it. He was working at Oracle for many years.
Mhm.
And he saw that, maybe a subscription business might be a
Mhm.
better way to serve a lot of small businesses, right?
Mhm.
So it was actually the business model that
Yeah.
made
Abs-
all the success for them, right?
Yeah.
So these are really big, obviously, these are big major companies who become extremely successful based on their business model rather than their technology.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. My
So
understanding is.
I think that is really why it's crucial to from the day one you have to distinguish why you have to figure it out your business model first.
Mhm.
You have to figure it out. What are you solving? What is the problem? What is the gap? What are the opportunities are, right?
Mhm.
That can only happen if you are in that space. So that
Mhm.
means the way I use this term all the time, I share with them that you have to be in the business to know the business, right? You have to build the business. So
Right.
that means you have to know because there is no way you can identify the gap from outside,
Mhm.
right? If
Yeah.
I'm an outsider, there is no way to know.
The pain.
Is the example we talked about it. If you have developers all over, they don't know from outside. It's like, oh, I can do this thing, but you really need to know the business. You need to be in the business to really solve those problems.
Yeah.
So I think that is really, really important for us to really think about this way, right? So business model itself, and then business model is it's a lot of things, right?
Mhm.
Technology and financing and funding is really just those resources.
Mhm.
So once you identify one of those things, one is like, okay, there's a gap and there's an opportunity, right? Then you have to, secondly, what you have to figure it out, is this big enough?
Mhm.
Could be a niche business for you, and you can be very successful. But
Mhm.
we are talking about, the business we want to build. You have to know it's big enough. And then you have to figure it out, all of those things, how you're going to acquire your customers,
Mhm.
what is the cost of acquisition is going to be, how you're going to
Mhm.
deliver services. Startups are like, I tell everybody, like a Swiss cheese.
Mhm.
We have a lot of holes.
Mhm.
You know what I mean? There's a
Yeah.
lot of holes in it, right? So we have to figure all of those things out and be able to build those businesses. So if you have a product and you don't really have an understanding of the business model, how you're going to distribute it, how you're going to acquire customer, how you're going to service them, how you're going to finance all of those things. And at the end of the day, can you make money off that?
Mhm.
Can you repeat that thing? Can you scale that business, right?
Mhm.
All of those things are really irrespective of product or your technology.
Right.
That is really how I think about business.
Yeah, no, it's business 101, right?
Business 101, no different than anything else.
Yeah,
And we get so excited about technology. We get married with the technology solution, whatever, because this is something we don't have to worry about talking to someone else,
yeah. Well,
right?
mhm,
It's in my head. Last night I woke up at 3 in the morning. I was thinking about my pitch deck for Salary X, right? Because I had a meeting with this thing. 3 in the morning I woke up. I start working on this thing, like, because somebody, I talked to them and somebody say, by the way, this slide does not make sense. Let's do it. And then it got into my head. I woke up and started working on it. So it's really the feedback is important, right? You take the feedback, and it can only happen if you are outside talking to people.
yeah, yeah. Well, it was funny. It's interesting because you think of the opposite of what you just said would be the dot-com bust. How many people just said, let's just apply technology to this sector, and they just went belly up because there was really no business model to do that, correct?
You're absolutely right. You can also see today, you can see AI.
Yes.
AI is fantastic actually to solving a lot of problems, but a lot of people are just building wrappers, right?
Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
basically wrappers. And they think that they can build a business around it, right?
Yes.
They can actually make money, monetize it. But between you and I, it's pretty much I can access the same thing for free.
Yes. Yeah,
So
you're
it's very, 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 so that is not a business model. That is just the trend, that's the technology. And you say, oh, I think that is the fundamental difference, that we get married with this technology. I think we should think about is just a tool. Important tool, actually the fundamental foundational tool for you to really deliver at
Yeah.
scale is important. But what are you delivering?
Right.
What are you scaling? Who's
Yeah.
buying it? Who's paying for it?
Yeah. Well,
All of those things we have to decide.
I've always said if you find some, a market where there's people that have a particular pain and you can solve that pain for a reasonable price, now you have a business model. But you're right, a lot of people are, I mean, I see it all the time in the Bay Area.
Yeah.
People just say, hey, we're putting AI to this, and it's like AI might not be the best tool for that, right? Maybe standard old, whatever, standard technology will handle it. You don't always need AI to solve everything.
The funny thing is, AI, and we go through this trend, right? AI has been around forever. It's not
since the 80s. Well, actually, since the
it's only
50s.
the Gen AI, generative AI, which I use it. That's how everybody got excited about it, because it made it possible for you and I to actually play with the chatbot, right?
Right.
Generative AI. Otherwise, it's machine learning. Machine has been learning for a long time, looking at this trend and looking at all of those things. You're forecasting all of those things based on the data you have, right? It's been going on forever, fraud reductions to compliance to whatever. It's not a new thing. We've been flagging these things forever.
Yeah.
But because of the generative AI, which is fantastic. So I also believe in, and I especially my work is in gig economy. I think there is a I don't want to be alarmist, but I think there are fundamental shift. It is not going to be creating a lot more jobs that people think that the job of the futures. It's designed to automate a lot of these jobs rather than create new jobs.
Yeah.
So that is a very, very big difference, right? So we have to figure it out. What does the future looks like, right? And I think that is something, I guess they're starting to talk about, universal basic pay and things like that, which is really going to go nowhere. I mean, right now, I think this is really the big challenge for us, right? And as a sort of we are in the gig economy, and I see, I mean, if you look at the list of jobs that is going to be and being replaced at this point, and is just accelerating it in the next 5 years, 10 years. You don't need a lot of things, even on the technology side.
Right. No.
Right? Customer support side. I can give you an idea. I was talking to someone. They do they work for big insurance company. And he was telling me that it takes about 8 to 10 minutes for human
Mm-hmm.
to review a claim,
Mm-hmm.
right? So that person, he or she can do maybe 5 claims an hour,
Mm-hmm.
maybe 30, 40 claims per day.
Mm-hmm.
AI can do in seconds.
Yeah. Of
What do you think? They're not going to use it?
course they are.
Obviously, this is going to happen. And
Mm-hmm.
what type of jobs are going to be created to replace these guys?
Mm-hmm.
And this is another example. I say the difference between today with this technology as opposed to when I came to this country 30 years ago. When I
Mm-hmm.
was in school, we used to have international calls, long distance calls, and domestic calls, right? All of
Mm-hmm.
those things were defined. It used to cost me $3 to call Pakistan. Just
Yeah.
imagine that.
Mm-hmm.
A minute.
Mm-hmm.
So we had to basically figure it out. We had no money. So we were like, okay, we're going to call only for 2 minutes per month, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's $6 at that time. That was a very expensive proposition. And you can imagine at that time, somebody walked into the CEO of AT&T or one of those, say, hey, by the way, make it free, make it
Mm-hmm.
available. They'd be like, are you crazy? We'll go out of business.
Yeah.
Today, you and I are talking all over the world, right? It's free.
Right.
But what
Mm-hmm.
it did that, it revolutionizes. It basically opens up new,
Mm-hmm.
it created a lot more jobs,
Yeah.
a lot more opportunity. It's basically brought work very close to it.
Mm-hmm.
This one is a little bit different.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, we are not going to litigate actually AI, but I think this is an interesting discussion we can have at some
Well,
point.
and yeah, and just to, you know, historically, technology has pushed the envelope, and people said, "Oh, it's going to cancel jobs," and historically, it has actually created more jobs.
Yes.
And this is the one where you wonder, is this one really going to create more jobs? But it certainly could, because it's going to make certain jobs more productive, right? So that, which actually could lead to more productivity. Well, the jury's still out on AI, I think.
This is the optimistic scenario. This is what I
Right.
believe. Also believe that we will have actually, because I will have a lot more free time. And I
Mm-hmm.
was talking to someone. We spent a lot of time actually in Cambridge and Boston. So there are a lot of people working on AI and robotics and whatever. And one of the things we have been discussing and talking about it, because you will have a lot more free time too. So you can also pursue other
Mm-hmm.
things you like,
Yeah.
music, hiking,
Right.
whatever. You will be able to do a lot of work. Like instead of spending a whole day, maybe you can finish your work in a couple of hours and be able to do it, right? And
Mm-hmm.
now you can enjoy. You should be
Mm-hmm.
able to do a lot of things which was taking a long time to do it.
Right.
I mean, if you are a lawyer, a big law firm, I mean, everything is digitized, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
very simple. You don't need
Mm-hmm.
associate to basically do a research, right?
Yeah. It's all out there.
So, so that would be a challenge. You don't
Yeah.
need that many lawyers anymore,
Mm-hmm. Yes.
right? How you are going to create this thing? You don't need a lot of accountants. Similarly, right? To do a lot of these basic things, you don't actually need a lot of. And one of the big thing I read it actually in Harvard Business Review the other day, and there was a big article actually. This is that the job actually the remote jobs are at much more higher stake
Mm-hmm.
than actually in-person jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And it makes sense because remotely you're working in a digital world. And
Mm-hmm.
that is basically where,
Yeah, it can be replaced. It can be automated, as opposed to
yes,
someone that does senior care. That takes a human being to
yes,
do it.
that
Right.
is exactly right. So now you basically, what are you going to do, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Obviously, that's one of, there are a few areas and there are a lot of physical work. There's a lot of in-person things are happening. That is something you need to do. You still need teachers,
Mm-hmm.
but the point is where you have millions of jobs in call centers, for example,
Mm-hmm.
would you need that?
Right.
Customer support, would you need that?
Yeah. And you'll need a subset of them, I think, is what will happen.
Exactly.
Right.
That is really
90,
where
I forget I don't know what the number is, but a certain ones are, script. You follow the script. That can be automated, but it's the exceptions you got to handle.
so the fear, in my opinion, the danger is this, that so the danger, in my opinion, and I think it will be, the danger is that only the very big rich companies will be able to actually dictate most of these terms and jobs
Mm-hmm.
because they are the one who controls this
Mm-hmm.
AI
Yeah.
technology. It will
So,
be very difficult to democratize that piece,
yeah, I would agree.
right?
Yeah.
So that is the danger. And
Hmm.
right now, the only reason they can't do it is because they don't have enough processing power.
Hmm. Yeah, but that's
You know what I
coming.
mean?
Yeah,
That's coming. I remember that Sam was talking about like, oh, I need $7 trillion. Like, are you crazy?
I know.
But he's not joking.
Right.
He's not joking.
Right. And he'll probably get it.
That's really the limitation right now.
Yeah. And
How
there's people
quickly you
working on
can
that. There's people working on that.
have.
So
So anyway,
yeah,
this is an interesting discussion, and obviously we can talk
and
for
and
forever,
I
but
have to tell
I'm
you,
sure.
we only have 5 minutes left. So
Okay, go ahead.
I'm going to jump.
Let's talk a little bit
Well, I'm
more.
going to jump right to the last question, which is really the one I think people want to hear is what strategies would you recommend to gig workers themselves to maximize their financial stability and career growth in this evolving gig economy?
Well, there are many things you can do, right?
Hmm.
So I think the first thing you have to really figure it out, um, and this is really where Salary X is building solutions. So I can give a little bit of pitch of Salary X at some point. But the fundamentally is really, as a gig workers, you have no protection.
Hmm.
You have actually no benefits.
Hmm.
You will probably need multiple jobs.
Hmm.
There is no one job that is. So you have to be really ready to accept that fact that this is the new normal. This is
Hmm.
the future of work for most of us, right? So what does it mean? You have to be actually, once you accept that premise, that you're not going to look for a full-time, permanent, regular job, which basically has a regular paychecks.
Hmm.
It opens up a lot of things for you at the same time because you're mentally ready now, which
Hmm.
means it's the same math will apply here. So you have to really understand your financials, right? You have to track your income, you have to track your expenses, you have to have a portable, some sort of a benefits, health
Hmm.
insurance and that sort of thing. But at the same time, you really have to think about financially, right? You can't, there is no retirement for you,
Hmm.
right? And majority of the jobs have so-called, they have 401k.
Hmm.
Majority of the job, a lot of big jobs have benefits, those type of things. They are not there for you.
Hmm.
You are independent.
Hmm.
Literally, that's the whole idea. Is called independent contractors, right? So starting from the very beginning, it's really the fundamental thing you need to do is to track your expenses,
Hmm.
right?
Yeah.
Then you track your income.
Hmm. Yeah.
It will give you actually, if you have a real-time visibility of your income and expenses, it can help you build your budget.
Hmm.
Or at least you know what you're making, what you're losing, because most people have no idea. I mean,
Hmm.
think about it. If you are an Uber driver, you stop at Starbucks,
Hmm.
you pay $6 for freaking some coffee, you should be able to scan and expense it,
Right.
right? It should be expense. This is your expense. You don't need to worry about receipts. You don't need to worry about any of those things. But that is a tracking mechanism. That is the fundamental to you because this will actually give you a real-time visibility
Hmm.
into it. Most people have no idea that how much money they spend or whatever.
Hmm.
So it's similarly, you have multiple jobs, right? You are applying for example, a loan or mortgage. Proof of income is needed. How are you going
Hmm.
to give your proof of income when you have 5 different jobs? So you
Hmm.
got to figure it out on, basically have a consolidation where you can actually track your income from multiple sources, track your expenses from
Hmm.
multiple sources into and then build this thing and then have some understanding of what that taxation means to you, how you're going to file this thing, how you're going to allocate some money. All of these little things you really have to figure it out. And we are not talking about anything big at this point. I'm talking about on a granular level, you have to start from there.
Hmm.
But
Yeah.
here's the pitch. This
Yeah.
is what we are building, right? With Salary X, you can track your expenses in real time, track your incomes, and then on top of it, we are building what we call it's a QR code based profile, right? We call it so you create your profile and you can instantly share with your employer. So your background, your biometrics, all of those things can be shared with employers. So that means you can potentially get job instantly. So it
Hmm.
can reduce the friction with time. So that is really what we are working on it. This is the solution we are offering. So I think those are some of the things should be thinking about it from the day one.
All right. Well, I really want to thank you for your time today. It's been great. I could probably talk to you for hours, but we're going to have to
I
wrap
know,
up
I'm
here.
excited about that too.
And
Ma-
hopefully we can do another one of these.
Absolutely, Mark. Anytime I'm here, just ping me. And, if you want to talk a little bit about, I mean, we can talk, as you can imagine, for hours on
Yeah.
AI, but obviously for salary exit, if you guys want to talk more, where we are, just to our audience and viewers, Salary X is going live in 2 weeks. So,
Oh,
which
very
is
good.
very exciting.
All right. Thank you, sir.